right, guys. So here we are, Balisong Underground podcast number 4, I think. Yeah, I think that's where we're at.
Yeah, it's the 4th one. Yeah.
Yeah, because we've been slacking off lately. I'm gonna kind of blame Stu for it, but it's just easy.
I'm blaming COVID-19.
Yeah, we're already getting into a heavy topic already. Well, we got Squid Industries with us today, the main man.
Man
Lucas.
himself.
How's it going, buddy?
It's going well, man. How are you guys doing?
We've been hanging in there, enjoying that new unemployed life.
I'm glad we were able to get you on a day that you had free. I know a lot of people have been wanting to hear from you. You're a titan of the industry right now, man. I think you're more well known than people that have been around since the 90s.
Well, I mean, I guess I've just been really active lately. That's particularly
that
why.
does play
Yeah,
a key role for sure.
Yeah, you've been
Yeah.
pumping out a lot of models and stuff in the last couple of years, you know?
Yeah, I try to kind of stay on top of it and introduce new product lines as often as we can, really.
Yeah, man, it keeps everything fresh for sure. You know, I know, some people like changing up the different, like, versions of the models they have. You know, like, and you already do that. Like, it seems like you do that pretty much right
We do
off
a
the bat.
combination.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So, I think you've got more models than anybody else right now. I mean, unless you want to compare them to Benchmade, but you really can't because they've just been around forever. But in the time span, you've just been mowing it over.
How long have you been, or how old rather is Squid Industries at this point?
So unofficially, I mean, the first product I ever released was the Kimura 11 scales. So I didn't really consider myself Squid Industries back then. And even after the first Squid Trainer, I still didn't really establish like a company name. But the first time I released the Kimura scales, that was kind of like September, August of 2015.
Oh.
I think it was maybe in that summer before that. But I think that when I started brainstorming the company name and whatnot, that was during the first batch of Squid Trainers, because I remember engraving Squid Industries on them during I think it was the V1 batch, not the V0s. I just serialized the V1s, but the V0s, but the V1s actually had Squid Industries on it. This is before we even had a logo too. So I would say Squid Industries officially was around February 2016, somewhere around that timeline.
Okay, it's a lot older than I was thinking in my head. For some reason, I had 3 years.
Yeah, I remember because I used to go down and see Basil down south, hang out with him all the time, and he had like 50 of 50 or something like that. That was pretty neat, man. They were
Yeah.
the aluminum handle channeled tang pin stuff is really
It's
new
actually
to
Zen
the
pins.
community. Zen pins. That's what I meant to say.
Yeah. So back when I was designing it, like I felt that was kind of a novel idea at the time because I hadn't seen anyone do it before. You know, like everyone loved channel, like myself included.
Yeah.
And
sure.
channel titanium, the 42, like legendary stuff. So I was thinking, why not try that same formula in aluminum and see kind of what performance I can get out of it. And I'd only known about the replicant Zen pins and the Tang pins from the 42, and I knew that Tang pins were press fit. I hadn't seen anybody do press fit Zen pins, so I was thinking, well, maybe I combine those two ideas together and come up with something decent.
Yeah, man. Well, it worked.
Yeah, and
no kidding, man.
With the aluminum handles, especially Zen pins is ideal. Those Tang pins will start to wear into the handles so much faster.
Yeah, so before I even had, the Squid Train and all that, my very first, quote-unquote real balisong was a Bear Ops. I had a
Poor
CCC Jaguar before that got me into the industry, and I can talk about that story later. But the B400, it was okay for what I had. It was definitely a big upgrade from my original Jaguar, but I definitely noticed that the Tang cups were basically getting smushed, so definitely knew I couldn't go that route.
Yeah, and that's a great way to segue into the first question I wanted to ask. How did you get into balisong to begin with?
Okay, so I've got a lot of stories, so I'll try to condense as much as
You've
I
had
can
practice
here.
at this, huh?
So, no, really, dude. So the first exposure I had was in the summer of 2013. A friend of mine, he's a very close friend of mine, also named Lucas, he went to Chinatown, and he bought one at the Chinatown there. and he brought it over to my house, and he's like, "Yo, dude, check this out. This shit is so cool." And he showed me because I was really into pencil spinning at the
Oh, okay.
time. And he's like, "Dude, you would be so good at this. You know, like your skills would just translate right over." And I was like, "Get that shit away from me. That looks dangerous as fuck." Uh, and he's like, "Dude, it's so simple." He's showing me the basic opening, and I'm like, "I don't know what the fuck I'm looking at. You know, I can't interpret any of these tricks." Um, and then he just kind of left it there for reasons I don't remember. And I picked it up and watched some tutorials. I was like, this is kind of cool. Start getting into it, start getting better. Um, and eventually kind of died down. I didn't stick with it for I didn't think anything longer than 6 months. But I remember I was in class. I was going to this is my first year of community college, my spring quarter, and the dude next to me, we're in this computer class, and he's browsing Blade HQ. I've never heard of him before. Browsing Blade HQ, and he's looking at butterfly knives, and I'm like, holy shit, are you into butterfly knives, bro? And he's like, yeah, man, I've got a huge collection. I even have a Benchmade 42, and I'm like, what the hell is that? So he's like, what? So I was like, well, you can buy these things online. That sounds extremely illegal. He's like, no, like you should read the law. It's legal to buy in California. And I was like, oh, okay. So that's how I kind of acquired the B400, and then kind of started diving into the community. So, after I got the B400, it started getting better and better. I wanted to make the jump to the next model up, I guess, from that price range. So I was like, okay, it looks like everyone's saying get a used Benchmade 51. You get it for like 120, 150. That's like a great step up in an intermediate model, other than the Kimura, which
So
I
what
couldn't
was the
find.
first community
So-
that you encountered online that told you, or where you learned all this at?
That's a really good question. I'm gonna have to say JD,
Okay.
uh, and I don't know how I got. Oh, that's right. I got exposed to JD probably because of O'Leary. I think. Shoot, I'm getting a little fuzzy. I don't remember, but I think that JD was the first community I encountered. I don't know why that was the first one or
Yeah.
how I found it, but that was the first one, and so I was able to find some used things. I was definitely gutting for a used 51, but I saw um, a brand new mint inbox modded by Wild Style 42.
Oh, shit.
And I'm like, holy shit, that's 3 times as much as I was willing to spend. And but it looks
What was
so
modded
good.
about it?
And it was a dude. It had anodized handles, and all the hardware and the blade were mirror polished. Not mirror, but like super high polished. And it looked really good. And he was a guy in Fresno. He's only an hour away from me, and I had no credibility on JD at all. I remember in his post, he had these big red bolded font. He's like, "If you don't have any rep of JD, I will not deal with you." I was like, "Motherfucker!" So I emailed him, or I sent him a PM, and I was like, "Hey man, like, I would really love to buy this. Like, is there anything I can, kind of send you to verify?" So he's like, "Just send me a photo of your driver's license or something." And I was like, "Oh shit, all right." In the end, I actually did buy it. And that's kind of like where I really took the first huge dive into the community with that 42.
Yeah, that's a game changer going from a Bear Ops to a 42.
It was huge.
I know my first 42 after I got it, because my first knife was the Spiderfly. When I got the 42 in the mail, I thought I got gypped.
Yep.
Like, I thought I got ripped off.
So light.
Yeah, it was crazy.
Yeah.
I thought the same thing when I paid $50 for an Archangel back in '08 or so. I thought I got ripped off with the clone.
Man, 50
Yeah.
bucks.
It was
Jeez.
brand new
Yeah,
inbox
man.
and everything. Oh, kicked my ass for trading it for a Kimura because I hated it so much.
Yeah, man. Well, that's
Oh man.
honestly, man, it's pretty impressive how quickly you got into things, because, from what you just said, you got in around 2013 or so. You were getting around, and by 2015, you were pumping out knives, man.
Well, yeah, so like I guess to continue the story really, so like I was collecting in 2014, 2015. I got the first production premium replicant.
Oh, another
I had
game changer.
the white and green one, and those were amazing. And around the same time, I think it was the month before, I also had the first production his trainer, the Prodigy.
Oh,
And
nice.
so like those are kind of like my first two other major balisongs outside of the 42. And basically to finish the story about how I got all into Squid Industries and stuff, as I was getting all this knowledge from talking to guys on JD, buying and selling and stuff on that forum, and I was eventually started to branch out to other forums, so I stumbled across Reddit. And I know you guys don't have very fond words about Reddit. I listened to the previous episodes, and that's totally fine. And I can talk a little about.
I would
that
love
later.
to hear more about it because
But-
as much as I may dislike it, I believe a lot of that stems from my ignorance of the Reddit culture.
Yeah, no problem. So, I was starting to get into it, and I think the only guy that was posting on them was some weird dude named Assassin Flump. Like, who the hell's that, right?
A weird dude for
right?
sure.
Yeah, and he had the most
you.
upvotes on there. He seemed to have like a decent collection, and I think the most upvotes that he ever got of all time, and that was the highest one of all time, was like 20. So the community was like a handful, like maybe less than like 20, 30
okay.
people. It was super small. And I just started getting active, helping people answer questions and whatnot. And a few weeks go by, a few months go by, and I'm answering the same questions over and over again. Everyone's like, hey, like, what would you recommend for $20? What would you recommend for $50? Like, what's the best starting knife? What's the best starting trainer? And this keeps going on and on and on. And, a year goes by, and eventually, like, people are like, hey, like, we should start an FAQ. Like, this is, it's getting kind of out of hand. So they're like, yeah, like, let's just message the moderators. The dude turns out to be AFK. And so we start a new subreddit. We go from r/balisongs to r/balisong. And, the dudes, everyone's just like, hey, like, so we got to appoint a moderator. Who's it going to be? And everyone's just like, yeah, right, bro. It's going to be you. I was like, okay, all right. So that's kind of the short story about how I became the head moderator of r/balisong.
I always wondered how you got that position.
Is really just from helping people. And so, like, during that time, as I was becoming the moderator, it was really apparent to me that a lot of people wanted to get into the hobby, but they had a lot of trouble because I would say get a used 51, get a Kimura. Those are hard to get. Kimura discontinued. The 51 still, too expensive. I couldn't recommend bear ops because those.
Yeah,
suck.
good on you for not recommending them.
I mean, like, BB barflies, it's okay. It's for the price, it's quite good. But if you want to get seriously into flipping, I wouldn't say to get that. So that's why when I was working at a machine shop, this is owned by my parents, and I was just doing some pretty simple metal work and whatnot. In our downtime, I asked my boss, like, hey man, I've got these balisongs. I want to make something that looks like this. I just drew on a napkin, and I was like, yo, just something like that. And he looked at my balisongs, like the Replicant and the Prodigy, and he basically just pulled some numbers and just kind of did all the machining himself. So he was really the mastermind behind the first Squid trainers. I kind of had like the look to it, but he's the one that put the numbers to it, and that's really the first startings of like Squid Industries. Like, I guess in between that, I had the Kimura scales because the Kimura 11 came out. Everyone's just like, oh, the Kimura's back, the legendary Kimura, the best balisong for the price, right? And they come up with these thin ass like scale, like it was like the Replicant was released without the scales on it. Everyone's just looking at it like, what the fuck is this?
I think that was the general reaction to it.
Yeah, no kidding.
Yeah, I was really disappointed. I flipped one myself, and I was like, "This is the worst thing I've ever had." It was easily the worst. So yeah. So I decided to make the scales. I only made like 20, but I think that kind of helped get my name out there. So when I started Squid Industries with the Squid Trainer, it really took off, and I got way more, I guess, demand for it than I ever anticipated.
You guys are you're a force to be reckoned
fucking
with,
titans,
for sure,
man.
in the community. Yeah, and you've done it in a short time. 5 years is nothing. So it's
I've had a lot of light to learn on. BRS and HOM, like they set a great model for the balisong industry, and I just happened to find a niche, and
I mean,
there are a lot of inspiration.
What's your follower count on like Instagram? Like, I don't go on.
I think we just hit 31K.
Man, that's crazy, dude.
Yeah, it's every time I see that number, I'm like, man, like that's a lot of people.
So
it's a lot of people.
What was your what initially when you started, or when the idea came to be that you wanted to make the first run of trainers? What was your goal? Was it just to make knives and make people happy? Were you trying to fill a certain gap in the market? What was your your mission?
Yeah, so it's a combination of those. It's a great question. I wanted to make a budget knife. That's the community, right? Like at the time is butterfly knives, and so I tried to do it, but thinking at it, I was like, I don't know how to make knives. I don't know what I'm doing. I remember segue here. I want to talk about a little bit about Josh Bennell,
Oh
Wild
yes,
Style.
my
I
man.
remember when I had the 42, and I was like, hey man, like so what is this? Like how did you polish the blade? And he's talking about stuff like very simple knife stuff, like
Yeah.
stonewash and polish. And I'm like, what in the world is a stonewash, Josh? He's like, oh shit, you don't know what that is? uh, and so yeah, so I love Josh, and he's definitely helped me like kind of learn a lot about balisongs and how they're kind of made, and that's kind of what helped me make the squid trainer. So I wanted to make the squid trainer as a knife, but I didn't know how to make knives because that whole process is, there's a lot to it, grinding from all that stuff.
Yeah.
It took me years to learn all of that, and so I didn't have the resources. So I was like, okay, I'm gonna make a trainer because not only is it easier to make, it's also legal. So I decided to do that, and I wanted to make the squid trainer so that people had an affordable, high performance flipper. That was really the case. I wanted kind of like a Kimura-esque replacement where people had an affordable model. And I wanted to make it as cheap as I could. And so that's why, as the years went on with Squid Industries, I pushed for that. Is that each model I came out with was lower and lower and lower,
Yeah.
because every time I released a model, there was always more and more kids who were like, like that's still too expensive. I can't convince my parents to buy that, and I could see that there's a huge demand for the younger age, the younger generation to get into it. But really, the main barrier was price, and so that's what I was aiming for at the beginning.
Yeah, and especially with the
Yeah, man,
Squiddy G and the plastic models, anybody can get into it now. And parents will look
Yeah,
at it and say,
yeah.
"Oh, that's cute. Yeah, I'll buy you one of those."
I think it's great you bring up Squiddies because I think the Squiddies is possibly the biggest. I think the most innovative thing that we've
Yeah, I
done.
was about to say.
Um, when I first released, I started brainstorming about it, and I had the idea from one of our manufacturers at the time. He used to make parts for us, but we do that stuff in house now with our own machines. But he specialized in plastics manufacturing, and he's like, "Hey, like you make these products. You ever thought about making them out of plastic?" And like most people in the Balisong community, you think of plastic, you're like, ew, like what the
Turn your
fuck is
nose.
that, right? So he's just like, just consider it. So I gave him some simple designs, and we prototyped it out, and it turned out to be really good. But when I released it to the public, and I did this the infamous live stream, I don't think you guys saw it,
No.
but at the time I was in my apartment in San Diego. I was going to school at the time, and I'll tell that story at a separate point in this podcast, but basically I reviewed it, and everyone was just like, ew, plastic. Exactly the way I expected everyone to react, right? Like, who wants a plastic balisong? At the time it was just so weird.
I
Who
think
would,
I think
who
the
would think that I
beauty
would
of it.
flip well?
Yeah, I think the beauty of that is, the price was just so right that everybody who's used to buying, $200 to $400 balisongs is like, I'll try it out for $50. That's what it was. It was right around 40, $50, right?
It's 42, and
Okay,
I
yeah.
actually put the price at 42, not because at the time that the price margins made sense, but because the Benchmade 42 was my favorite balisong at the time, and I still have that same price because I was able to manage it.
That's awesome.
That's a small Easter
Yeah,
egg.
I
Paying
mean,
some homage.
It's almost like that's what the Balio could have been, and you're spending a few dollars more on a Squiddy, but it blows the Balio out of the water as far as performance and what you're getting for the price.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely still geared to flippers. I had the weight done so that you could still do pretty much every trick with it. So I think that once people started handling it and flipping it, they're like, oh, like this is actually kind of good.
Well, the word of mouth
What?
spreads so quick in the online environment that we live in these days.
Yeah, I think the one thing that kind of frustrates me still with the Squiddy is that throughout the first production and even still to now, like people will be like, oh, like my Squiddy cracked, oh my Squiddy broke, and that's frustrating to me because obviously you need your balisong to be a decent durable, right? But having a product that was ultra cheap, super good flipper, and durable, like all those three things, the three things combined, it's almost impossible considering how much these things
Yeah.
get beat. Like they drop it on concrete, they do all sorts of stuff, and they're like, oh, it cracked. This thing's a piece of shit. Well,
Yeah,
can
I
only
think
do so much.
it really highlights the fact that the lowest point can only get so low. You can't
Yeah.
you can only expect those three things that you just mentioned to be there and only be so low of a price.
And there's a lot of people that will have, they'll have their basilisk art that they flip over their bed, and they also have their squiddy that they take outside and flip over the concrete. And they're, they're not the squiddy isn't an over the bed type of flipper, so it's there for abuse. So, I mean, people should expect it. In my opinion, it's plastic.
Yeah, most people are pretty understanding. It's a rare case for people to have these insanely high standards for the squiddy. So,
and I
that's
think
all right.
that for the most part, the community can kind of police itself when people make a public post about it being cracked and expressing their displeasure in the product.
Yeah, I think it's usually people who are really new to it.
Yeah, I've got to say personally that while I've seen the pictures and I've seen people be kind of sad or upset about it, I haven't seen any real oh man, I can't believe he would put out such a piece of crap. I haven't seen that.
No.
Really.
Yeah, luckily it is pretty rare because they are still relatively durable.
It's probably
And
those guys
The amount
on
of people
Reddit.
who do go out there and just try to destroy out.
Yeah, I know. What's his name? I Like Quake. He keeps his in his
yeah,
bathroom.
Mike Plain.
Nice.
He keeps his in
Yeah, he sent me a few snaps. It's really funny to see him flip it in there.
It's like rusted onto his.
It's super rusted.
It's funny, man.
Yeah, it's really funny.
So one thing I've just been dying to ask is Squidmaster. Where the hell did that name come from?
All right. So basically, back in high school, I was a pretty awkward kid, and I used to do this weird, funny walk down the hallways, kind of similar to Squidward. There's a particular.
I know this is
episode
an
that I wish
audio
I could
thing,
really...
but we have Lucas on camera right now. Can you show us that walk real quick?
Yeah. All right. So basically, I forgot which episode it was, but he leans back really far, and then he like that, basically arms really wide apart, and he's kind of flailing it like that. He's strutting.
It was one of those Vine guys, wasn't it?
I don't remember. But so basically, there's this dude in the hallways. I don't know where he got the idea, but he kind of started calling me Squid. He kind of yelled it in the hallways. He'd, hey, look, there's Squid. I think my body proportions are similar to Squidward. And that kind of started building up. It became a small little kindling of a fire, and then it became huge. And all of a sudden, the next year over, I was being called Squid pretty much by the entire school.
Nice.
I think I didn't hear my actual name for the rest of my high school because everyone just called me Squid. And I really didn't like it at the time, but I kind of embraced it eventually. The Master, well, I have no idea where that came from. I think I just added that on. The 23 came from an old username of mine. So that's just kind of how Squidmaster was born, and that's where Squid influenced the rest of the naming.
That's a great
scheme.
story. I love that.
Yeah, man, I love hearing where everybody's names come from, man. It's pretty interesting to because everybody's got a personal story about it, and it brings some homage into it.
I'm excited to have Josh on here so I can hear where Wild Style came from.
Oh man, that should be awesome.
And I'm glad you told us that stuff about him helping you make the knives, because we are going to have him on eventually, and I had no idea that he was involved with that,
awesome.
so that gives us some ammo.
So, while we're on the topic of names, you want to go over about the whole Kraken ordeal, the Crackeracken, or whatever we're going to...
Okay, so first thing is that I want to say is that all of our names, I'm very strict about keeping everything aquatic themed. That has been a pain in the ass because there's a lot of cool names out there, but cool names that are aquatic themed, that list is getting
Angler.
small. I could consider that, yeah. So Kraken was obviously a highly requested name. O'Leary still to this day claims that it was his
Of course he
idea,
does.
but little does he know that the first 400 people online said I should do it. Out of the blue too. I wouldn't even ask people for name suggestions. I get a PM on Reddit or somewhere on Instagram hey man, you should make a lively name the Kraken. I get that shit all the time. So I wanted to name it the Kraken. Obviously, super badass name, but as I was kind of getting into it, I found that another company actually trademarked the name already. So the other company that I don't want to really name is some CCC
Garbage company.
Yeah, it's a cyberpunk fantasy sword. and that got discontinued. It's some kind of cyberpunk fantasy karambit now, and that infuriates me.
So how did you discover that it was trademarked?
That's a good question. I think that what happened was that I was in contact with the owner of ProTech, his Dave Wattenberg, and he was telling me that you got to protect your company, you got to trademark your company logo and name and all that stuff, and it'll save you in the long run. So I was like, okay, yeah, I'll look into that. So I started looking up all the database stuff and looking up all of my product names, and Kraken just happened to be there, and I stumbled across it as I was kind of pushing that product out. So I was like, shit, I don't know what I'm gonna do now. Like, that name is so cool. So I was like, okay, I think what we can do here. And by the way, just for people who don't know about trademarks, they're just why don't you change like the A to an E or something? Like, if it's phonetically similar, then you can't use it. Because I was thinking about splitting up the word like KRA and then KEN into two separate words. That didn't work either. So
well, it was one of the sorry to interrupt you, but like I just saw Zombie Tools the other day. I don't know if you know who those guys are.
Yes, I've seen them at Glacier before.
But they've got a model called the Kraken.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's a funny thing is that in the knife community, there's lots and lots of companies using the same names, and a majority of them just really don't care.
Yeah.
That's just kind of how it is, and I think most people don't mind too much as long as there's no like massive overlap, because generally the products, as long as they're different categories, it's all right. If there was like a fixed blade named the Kraken, and then I came out with a fixed blade called the Kraken that looked maybe similar to it, then there'd be a problem.
Yeah.
But yeah, most companies don't.
So what exactly is a Kraken?
So really, like, I didn't really know what to do with the name, right? I wanted to preserve the integrity of the Kraken. So I was like, okay, we can either call it the Crake, which is, still different enough than Kraken, or we can call it Raken or Raken, which is basically Kraken without the K in the front or without the N at the end.
So how is it pronounced?
I was doing a poll. So I call it the Crake Kraken because Kraken is how the original pronunciation is. So basically I was like, okay, everyone, like, I did a poll with all my friends, and I was like, okay, do you guys want to call it Crake, or you guys want to call it Raken? And I got like a nearly 50-50 split, which didn't help me at all. So I was like, all right, you know what? I'm just going to put the two names together. In the end, a lot of people made fun of me for it. I remember when I announced on that post, everyone's just like, that's just the dumbest shit I've ever heard, Lucas. And that made me feel really bad, but I already made the decision, and I can change it at any time, I guess, but that's just kind of how it ended up being.
So I know you've been speaking on Reddit about your next knife. Tell us a little bit about that. You already got a name plan for it?
Yeah, so for the listeners who don't know, I've got a few projects lined up this year, but that one involves a titanium knife. That one is called the Tsunami. I've already kind of finished prototyping, and I'm moving into production right now. It's still relatively small batches. It's basically at mid-tech levels of production. I only have 20 units planned for the first batch. It's kind of on hold right now. My machinist who takes care of that work, he's kind of staying at home, because of the virus, and he's trying to be safe. So, unfortunately, not making too much progress on that right now, but it is a titanium knife. I'm targeting the price point to be at around... it's kind of hard to say because I don't know the exact price until I figure out exactly how much it's going to cost us in the end, because we haven't really finished it. So I'm going to say anywhere between...
don't throw a number out yet. People are going to hold you to it.
Yeah, okay. Everybody's going to hold you to that. But most people know what the price ranges of titanium knives are. Not going to be too far out.
I mean, it's a premium material. It's going to be a premium knife. People, I mean, I'm sure, judging by your past with the knives, we're going to get what we pay for.
Yeah, I'm going to try to make it as best as I can for what the price is. And I think that considering the price range of other knives in that category, I think that it's relatively fair. Especially what quality you're going to get.
And it's
out
not.
of it.
I mean,
so
it's what do they call it?
Well, it's going to be. I actually didn't want to reveal that. That's totally fine.
I can delete that part.
No, it's cool. It's totally fine. I think that I can reveal that. It is going to be a titanium, and the blade steel will be S35VN. Nice. Yeah, I think that a lot of the higher end knives, in the Balisong community, in that price range, it's it's kind of hard. I think Jerry does a great job. A lot of his knives have that premium steel. I don't think that most users will, care too much about it because a lot of the hardcore flippers they don't care about the blade steel. But I think there will be a handful of people who do actually appreciate the premium steel because some people will want to use it. So it'll run on bushings, no question about that. I think most people who know flippers, they know that bearings are, unless done really correctly, which even then, I'm still not a huge fan of bearings.
I think most people feel the same way. That's a niche, a group of people there.
Yeah, you've got your little pockets and stuff, but I think the big one is definitely the bushing crowd.
Yes, that definitely makes up the majority of flippers.
Yeah,
because all of your models run off of bushings, right?
Not all of them. So all the trainers except for the Nautilus run off of washers. So only the Nautilus and the Kraken right now.
Okay.
Those run on bushings. Yep.
So if you were to pick, like, of all the knives you've made, which one is your favorite to flip?
It's probably going to be the Kraken. I think that just pretty much everything about it on that one is just.
Yeah.
I stumbled upon a recipe that works really, really well.
Hands down, but my favorite.
I was super impressed. I was super impressed when it came out, man. That because I don't know if most people know this. Of course, like you said earlier, we don't hang out on Reddit too much, but that's a premium material as far as aluminum goes. You're using 70-75 on that. It's not.
Yeah,
like this.
I think that the first person to kind of make that, relatively well known is Fior. This is before. I can't think of anyone off the top of my head in the Balisong industry that used the material.
I think.
But when I released the Kraken, go ahead.
Oh, I think Microtech, their second, because their prototypes were 60-61, and then they used 70-75.
Oh, they were all 60-61
on their TAC 3s.
Really?
Yeah.
I thought they were all 60-61.
Yeah, that's what I thought as well. I was actually trying to get some clips with the Kraken today. I got a few down before I hammered myself right at the bottom of my thumb, so I had to call it a day.
Yeah, because,
oh, man.
Everyone kind of knows that I was on the TAC 3 project, and I actually got a prototype that was with, maybe it wasn't 60-61. I can't really remember now. You guys are making me question myself, but it was definitely a softer but heavier aluminum that was on it. So
you brought that one to Blade the year you had it, and I remember it feeling a lot different than what ended up being produced.
I don't want to say it's night and day difference, but there's a huge difference.
Oh yeah.
I'm not able to find anything on Blade HQ. I don't see. They don't even list the handle material. They don't even say it's aluminum. Oh, no, it is, but they don't say which grade it is.
They do the same thing with titanium. They don't say what grade it is or anything.
Yeah.
All right, something like that.
Yeah, so like the 70-75 is really it really is a huge difference from the 60-61, and that's kind of something that I had to explain again to the community because it's just so new that like it's not just aluminum because people hear aluminum and they see the price and they're like ew, like, but guys, it really is different. You have to see this.
It's huge. That's what they make ARs out of, AR-15s and stuff. That's all 70-75.
Yeah, they do.
Airplanes are made out of aluminum.
Yeah.
And it's not made out of crushed aluminum foil or anything. It's a good metal.
Yeah, it's definitely a decent beater. I think that people are relatively happy with how well it takes a beating.
So when you flew out to meet the BRS guys, was that business related? What all did you learn from Ed and Lawrence?
So it was really just a hangout session. This is in 2015, the summer of 2015. O'Leary actually basically vouched for me, and he's like, hey, like, this dude's cool, like, and so Ed invited the both of us out to Maine to hang out with them and just film some clips and just talk and whatnot. And it was purely just that because at the time I didn't have a business. I was just a rando guy making Kimura scales, and they were really, really friendly, and Ed and Lawrence are both super cool guys, and I had a great time.
Yeah, man, I'm super jealous when you guys went up there, man. I wanted to.
So,
yeah, it was
this the trip where you guys mailed the knives back?
Yes, it is. It is.
Oh, no.
That's the trip. Okay, so for the listeners who don't know, O'Leary and I, we mailed out 5 knives, I believe. It was a Benchmade 46, a BRS replicant, a DDR Gemini, a Kimura with scales, and a BRS Alpha Beast version 1.5.
So you mailed
And
them back. You mailed them to
we
your house from Maine, so you wouldn't get on a plane with them, correct?
Correct. So we mailed them to Ed. We flipped them while we were on the trip. Got some cool clips of them. Sent them back, and they never arrived. A month later, we got this priority envelope torn up, and it says there's a sticker on it that says missing contents, contents gone, like all this stuff, and they were all gone. And so that was really really devastating to us because those knives are kind of legendary. O'Leary's Deadbeat, the 46 that he engraved at the at Blade Show 2015, and my Gemini that I basically had just got. It was a brand new DDR Gemini. That really sucked. And so like to kind of combine to that story to make it even more crazy. So after that trip, fast forward, I think 8 months later. This is in around March. I sent a Tachyon 2 to, I think it was Robert Meyer, just for him to try out. And he wanted to flip it. I had a serrated Bowie one. It was really cool. And so I was like, okay, I'll send it to you. I sent it to him, and he never got it. It basically got stolen. And I was like, damn, this happened again.
Wow,
my luck, man. I was like, this is insane, right? So fast forward another few months, I get a call from O'Leary, right? He's like, Lucas, get the fuck out of bed. You have to see this. And I'm like, what's going on? He's like, they're auctioning our knives on Gunbroker. And I'm like,
fuck.
What? he's like, we found the knives. And I was like, that's crazy. So I go online and I see all of it there. And and the crazy part is that with the knives that were taken from us from that trip, my Tachyon that I sent to Robert was also in that listing.
What?
I'm like, what? Which is crazy because the mail from Maine to California to my address, Leary's address in California, I was sending from San Diego to Robert, who lives in Pennsylvania. Like, these are completely different locations and states, and for all of them to appear in the same under the same user listed at the same time blew my mind. I had no idea. Like,
wild.
I was like, this is so strange. This is some conspiracy stuff.
I would never use the mail again after that.
Yeah, maybe it hit like a main hub, the same main hub that goes into California or something like that. But
that's just a weird coincidence.
What did you guys end up doing about it? Like,
so we tried to contact the owner. We tried contacting Gunbroker. We tried all sorts of things. Like they long story short, they ignored us. They didn't really care. They ended up being auctioned off. I think one dude in the community. I know somebody in the community. He ended up buying the Gemini, and he offered it to me for the price he got it for. But I didn't want to pay basically 2 times for my Gemini.
Yeah, no.
I think O'Leary actually did end up buying his replicant back.
He loved that replicant.
I know he got at least
That's
one
one
of
with
them.
the sheath.
He got one of them back. I think so. Yeah.
Wow.
So, yeah, that was a pretty unfortunate loss.
I didn't know about the Tachyon 2 with Robert. That's new information to me.
Yeah,
it's pretty crazy.
That's wild, man. that caught all of us by surprise, man. Jeez. I can't think of it had to have been a hub because and they got to know that knives are in them. So that's the craziest thing, or maybe they're just rattling packages or something.
I have no idea. Must be some kind of scanner or something. It's still so strange.
I don't even think about it. I'm going to get a headache. I'm going to go to bed angry. So
yeah.
And I know you didn't do any real type of advertising or teasing before you came out with your initial batch of trainers. So did you just use social media and word of mouth to spread the news? Did you have people that were specifically, designated to do that? How did you get the word out?
No. It was really just personally just me on my own channels. When I was releasing the first batch, I had Reddit because I was the head moderator there. That helped a lot. And then Instagram from my time making the scales, that helped grow my audience a little bit too. And so using those two together, I somehow was able to find enough people to buy the first batch. I think the very first batch I put up on, I posted it on JD, Instagram, and Reddit, and I said I didn't have a website. I didn't have anything. I didn't have them built yet. I said, hey guys, I'm gonna make 50 trainers. If you want one, PayPal me $150 to this address right here, and you've secured a spot. You know, and I think it was kind of crazy that 50 people trusted me with their money, just some like random kid to make them the trainer. Because like, I'm sure you guys have been in this industry long enough to know that there are tons and tons of really sketch guys who basically take money and never deliver.
I was about to bring it up, you know, with all of the pre-orders that have gone south in the even just the last couple of years, not to name any names.
Atlas.
Is that how it sounds when you say it?
Yeah.
No, we all know, and yeah, it's been. Although it is unfortunate as it may be, and there have been more than there should be, it hasn't really made anybody more skeptical of the next guy. Not yet.
Yeah, I guess so.
Yeah, I think more people end up coming through than don't.
Oh yeah, most definitely.
As much crap as everybody likes to give DDR, he still came through.
Yeah, and he's still producing, isn't he?
He is.
I don't know.
I don't know if he's producing right now.
Oh.
Yeah,
he was recently. Oh.
Yeah, so you know, he's burning pizza and pushing out knives, man. So another thing I kind of wanted to get into, you know, stray away from all this kind of negativity here too, about your crew there at Squid Industries. Not only the people that are working with you, but the people you sponsor to flip with you guys. Tell us a little bit about those dudes.
So yeah, so we sponsored, I think around 10 flippers. I've lost count now because we've dropped a few and we've added some as well. And you know, we get a lot of requests to be sponsored all the time.
I'm sure
we get kids, you know, like 5 years old. You know, they see sponsored, like that's so cool. Like I want to be part of the Squid team. And so we get DMs almost every day saying like, can you sponsor me? Like I have 300 followers. I own the Squiddy. Can you sponsor me? No joke. Like people who don't even own our products will be like, oh, like I've got a YouTube channel with 50 subscribers. Like I'd love to be a sponsor of yours. And like I'm like, man, come on. So yeah, we originally started the sponsor program because we obviously wanted to push our products more, you know, expose it to a bigger audience. And there's a lot of really great flippers who loved our products, and I thought that it would make a lot of sense to form a partnership between them and us. And so,
can you? Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, no.
I was just gonna ask. Can you elaborate on what exactly the sponsorship is to the public?
Yeah, so it's basically right now most of them are 6 months contracts. Some of them are shorter, and they basically receive products from us, and they have to. You know, there's a certain list of things that they need to fulfill via media for us. And that's pretty much it. There's not much else to it. You know, they flip our products, and that's that's pretty much it. It's really simple.
Okay. So I've got, I'm sponsored by another brand, and the new program rolled out this year that added some stipulations as far as media presence and whatnot. So I was just curious on how you handled that.
Yeah, I mean, like there is some like small restrictions. Obviously you can't like do a certain amount of promoting for other people. And I think we have something like if they're gonna attend like a live event, they must wear our apparel.
Okay. And BRS,
small stuff
with whom I'm sponsored, they do require that I use their knives in competitions.
Yeah, I mean that makes sense, right? I mean that's
which I'm more than happy to do. That's my rep is my go-to for filming and filming.
Yeah, it's wild to me because the few companies I've been with, I haven't had any stipulations at all. I mean, granted, my involvement with them was like a lot more organic. It was a lot more like, hey man, I can help you guys, because I didn't really work with quote unquote flipping companies. You know what I mean? I don't think many people consider, even though they make them, Benchmade or Microtech, most people don't consider them flipping companies. So my role there was a lot different.
Yeah, you were at SHOT Show 2019 or 2018 for the 87, right?
Yeah, 2017 I think. I can't remember.
Dang.
Yeah,
can you tell us about that story? Like how did they contact you?
Oh man, so now I'm getting.
What was your role there? Well, I mean, I just want to know because I remember seeing that video of you flipping there, and I'm like, damn, but Dave is at SHOT Show with Benchmade. That is so cool.
Yeah, well, how that whole story happened, now that I'm getting interviewed, is I was at, because Paul Factora, who does the Balisong23, he's doing the movie, The Way of the Balisong, and he puts on the competition, or they used to put on the competition out in L.A. before we all got shut down.
California.
Yeah, so that year I was having trouble getting out there, and Paul Factora was like, "Hey, I'm asking Benchmade for some sponsorships. You want me to see if they'll help you out?" And I was like, "Hey, man, if you're going to be my manager, like, might as well." And sure as shit, they paid for my flight out there.
Nice.
And
Wow. Nice.
yeah, so that was, I still have the check. I haven't
That's so
cashed
cool.
it at all. Because, like, I'm...
What?
Yeah, I haven't cashed it at all. Like, it was such a cool thing to me, So,
Cash that motherfucker. What are you doing?
yeah, man. I'm just trying to pass on that savings onto the knife flippers. But anyway, so after the competition, in fact, there was a hurricane coming through. Wait, was it this year? I think it was. The hurricane was coming through, so my flight got delayed.
Oh.
And the hurricane moved north to the point where I could change the flight that I went out of. And before I even flew out, I ended up getting a message from, he's no longer there, but Derek.
Derek Lau
from the
Yeah.
PR. Yeah, man. Awesome guy. So he said, "Hey, we'd love for you to do the release of the new 87 at SHOT Show, and we'll pay for your flight, we'll pay for your hotel." And they put me up in a super nice place, and it was wild, man. Like, that was kind of the pinnacle of everything I've ever done. Because
That's so cool.
yeah, it's because one of the best things about it is, if I'm going to start talking about myself and kind of be on a high horse here, is, I feel like some of the stuff that I've done has really set a lot of precedents for things that people can do in this community. It's not such a small, it is still a small community, but it's not nearly as small as it was even.
Oh man, every year it
back in
grows
2015.
exponentially.
Yeah, it's getting
Yeah.
huge.
Too big,
So-
if you ask me.
That's really what's cool about it to me is, by doing stuff like that, I showed everybody that, dude, it's possible to get cool sponsorships and make it out places, but it's also a team too. You have to put out, you have to be willing to fly across the country on a whim in short notice and be able to show up for these guys.
Just having that ability to have access to that kind of free time to just fly, that's what I think gets a lot of people.
Yeah, I got really lucky with the jobs I had at the time, because I was working at an airplane shop and
Like a hobby
and
shop?
a kayak shop at the time. No, I actually worked on airplanes.
Oh, God, that's right. Okay.
Yeah, I not airliner airplanes, like little 2-seater, 4-seater kind of little fiberglass death boxes. Yeah, so I was working there and I was doing my kayak shop as well. But both of those guys really supported what I did. I could tell them with, like, I didn't do it to them, but I could tell them with no notice that, like, hey, I'm going to be gone
that's
for
awesome.
a week.
Wow.
So they
Did
were
they ever
really
ended up
supportive.
inviting you back for Blade Show? I mean, I know that SHOT Show that year, but did they ask you to be a part of their Blade Show team?
I don't. No, they have not. But I don't think that.
Well, a lot of that crew has
'cause
changed.
Yeah, a lot of the crews changed for sure. I know Hans isn't there anymore. Derek's
Yeah.
not there anymore. Maddie, I don't think, is there anymore. And those guys were pretty much the guys I was in. And Les just passed away, which is really sad.
Rip.
I kind of meant to get on that on our other podcast, but it didn't really happen.
What was that other guy's name? The real eccentric guy, Chris McSomething. He did all the designs. He did like the prototype Balisong. Buzzed head, had all the earrings.
Oh, are
I
you
don't
talking
recall.
about Mike?
Mike, yes.
You're talking about Mikey St. Clair, dude.
St.
I love
Clair,
Mikey
that's
so
it.
much.
Yeah.
Yeah, Mikey St. Clair, dude. That guy is That guy is awesome. I love that dude.
That dude is so
When
fucking cool.
when I went out to Portland to their shop, man, Mikey actually took time off of work to come meet me, so
Nice.
that was pretty awesome. You know,
Wow,
I
that's really nice
got
of
to
him.
I got to hang out with a lot of cool people there, man. You know, I really wanted to end up working for them. They kind of made it in. They didn't offer me a job, but they made it in no uncertain terms that they would like to have me there. But man, I could not live in Portland to save my life. I don't like the area
I love that
at
area.
all. Yeah.
Well, no, I take it back.
Oh.
I like Eugene. Portland, not so much.
Yeah, yeah. The smaller areas for sure. Where I go to go hang out with Nate, Pacific Northwest dweller, like he lives down in Southern Oregon, and it's gorgeous down there, man. It is so beautiful.
Do you guys know Nate before Blade Show? Because Nate was actually some guy I talked to, and I helped him get into the Blade House.
Yeah, that's what he was telling me. So
He's
I
been around
didn't
for
even
quite a
know
while,
who Nate
hasn't he?
was.
Yeah, he is.
I didn't even know who Nate was until that Blade House, and
That was 2017, right?
That's
was
2018.
Pretty sure.
2017?
2018?
Yeah, I think
They
it
all
was
tend to blur
20
together. It's after all these
Yeah.
years.
I know, right?
No, it was 2017, I think.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it was.
So, the way I met Nate is kind of a crazy story. Without naming any names, me and somebody else were, me and somebody else were carrying a female up into a secluded area, and Nate, we see a car pull up, and Nate gets out of an Uber, and here I am with a chick in my hands, and just kind of caught with like a fucking deer in the headlights kind of deal, man. So that was pretty interesting. He's like, "Oh, you guys like to party here, huh?" I was like, "Yeah."
Look at the Blade House.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know, I definitely have O'Leary to thank for helping me get into that house, because at the time, like, you know, I didn't know any of you guys there. That was my first time meeting all of you for the first time. That was probably the most memorable show for me, just because, you know, thinking back on what I talked about earlier about social media and stuff, and, you know, my big exposure was definitely because for that show, the reason why I even decided to go was because a few months before, Ben Peterson from, you know, who used to be at Blaze Q, he reached out to me via Reddit, and he's like, "Hey man, like I read your buyer's guide on Reddit, and we really would like to do, you know, an episode with you at the show."
That's so cool.
So I went there and we talked about it. He put this whole list of knives. There's like 30, 40 different butterfly knives and trainers, and, you know, without any preparation, we didn't rehearse or anything. You know, right there on the show floor with all these cameras and people around. He's like, "All right, we're gonna do this." I was pretty nervous, you know. So the way it went is that, you know, we had all these knives lined up. He's like, "Hey, what's up, guys? You know, we got Squidmaster here. He's gonna be our expert." So him and his co-host Austin, they basically like pull up the knife, be like, "Yo, check this out. Here's what it costs." Like, Lucas, like, "Why is this good? Why is this bad?" And that video reached a lot of people, and I always have people coming to me be like, "Hey man, like I saw your video. That's what helped me get into the community,"
Nice.
which blows my mind. So, you know, that was a really big moment for me, and that's when I revealed the Squid Trainer as well.
Oh.
Kind of, I guess the version
Yeah.
2, because I just received the prototypes there at the show, and I was letting people flip it, and I got to debut it on that one. So that was super cool.
Yeah, that was also the year that you did a couple interviews that year, because we got you on the Balisong Underground interview that year.
Yeah.
Might not.
No, that was 2018. That was 2018.
Was
I'm pretty
that?
Sure.
Oh man, they all blend together anymore, man.
So while we're on the
I
topic
know.
of Blade Show, how are you guys feeling about it this year with everything that's going on? On their website, officially it
Yeah.
says that it will still be happening at the original date.
So, no, they're keeping pretty close contact with us. They're sending us emails.
Oh, okay.
And,
So you have some more
we
insight
put out
on
a
this
poll.
than I would.
Yeah, so originally, just like you said, you know, it's still uncertain. And then they put on another poll saying that, okay, we're considering moving the date 3 weeks forward. And so would you be willing to do that? I answered that. And then they got another email last week, and they said, well, it looks like we're not going to move the date. We're either going to keep the date or we're going to cancel
No
it.
shit.
And so that's kind of still up in the air. They haven't said anything about it yet. But I'm going to guess it's going to get canceled. It's going to be rough.
Man.
So.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
know they've kind of started travel restrictions here in Florida. Like I saw some photos today where they were kind of stopping everybody driving in at the state.
Was that on 95?
95.
Yeah, I saw that.
Yeah, so I gotta imagine as things kind of progress, there's a chance that a lot of people aren't even going to be able to get there.
Yeah, for sure.
So it's a shame. We'll all live without it, I guess.
Oh yeah, it's just going to be a blow financially to some of us that have already put money on the Airbnb.
Yeah, no kidding.
That was
Yeah,
not
no
Airbnb.
kidding.
We rented a house through text message. So
Yeah.
I think it also sucks because like that show is kind of like the pinnacle of Balisong meetups
yes,
for the year, right? Like so many people from across the world will come just to flip with other
Literally
dudes
across the
that they met
world.
through the internet. Yeah, across the world. They'll spend all this money and time just to spend a little bit of time and flip these guys, and that's really where the community really comes together. And so that for me will be the biggest blow. 'Cause like the show is so important to connect people together. And
yeah,
Yeah,
and,
it seems like people do like 6 to 9 months of connecting in a weekend.
oh yeah, easy.
Then
Yeah,
happens all over online.
and that's the one vacation I've taken every year for the past 10 years or so. Like that's my one.
Yep. Yeah, I do
Yeah,
that one in
so-
Vegas, and anytime we do something in California, I try to make them.
Hopefully, if it does get canceled, but hopefully Blade Show West will continue, and then a lot of people who missed the first show will decide to go to Blade Show West.
And there's a few people that I know that, myself included, we're still going to go to the Blade House and hang out for a few days just to do it,
A ritual, huh?
Yeah, just to hang out with my bros. These are people I've known for a decade or more, and I get to see them once a year.
Yeah, I would. Like I flew up not too long ago just to go see Holt. You know what I mean? It was a $60 round trip flight. So
Damn.
How can I argue with that?
$60.
$60. Yeah, Frontier Airlines.
That's crazy.
Yeah. So
And I know a lot of
getting
us
around
flippers will
places.
fly out or drive out to another flipper's house, hours away just to do whatever. Usually it's just bullshit and drink and flip. But with you,
Yeah.
Lucas, I know it can be a bit different because you have a business in the hobby. And you went and visited Jerry
Yeah.
Hum one time, right?
That was actually the same trip with BRS.
Oh, it was the
So
same trip.
after that
Oh,
trip,
I was not aware of that.
I after that, because I was in the area, I decided to fly to New York from Maine, and I spent a day, kind of like basically a day there, hanging out with Jerry. He also invited 2 other dudes. I don't remember their names. I know one of them was Ron LaBella, owner of Jersey Devil, which I'm sure you guys really like.
I know that guy.
And there's another guy. I think his name is Conger. Conger. You guys are familiar with? He's
No.
a really big Bally Ballistic collector who's very, very low
The
key.
name rings a bell, but I couldn't tell you who he actually is.
Yeah, and there's a third guy. It might have been Silent J, but I don't think so. Not too
Well, now
sure.
Joe was
No,
there
it was,
when you were with the BRS guys, wasn't he?
Yeah, he was there with the BRS guys, but there was another.
I just recently found
I know
out
what he
his
looks
last name
like,
is
but I don't
pronounced
remember.
Tebow.
Really?
Yeah.
It is.
I thought it was Theobald
Huh.
for years. And I saw somebody with his same last name on a podcast, and they said Tebow. So I texted him immediately, bro, is this how you say your name? He's like, oh, yeah, Nardath is the only one that got it, the French accent and everything.
Yeah.
Son of a bitch.
Bunch of baguette eating.
So anyway, sorry, go ahead,
Racist towards
Lucas.
other white people.
Yes, I mean, I just hung out with Jerry. I mean, he was making the Arashis at the
Oh,
time.
yeah.
I don't know if you guys are.
Yeah,
I don't know if the
man.
listeners know what the Arashi is. It's a pretty old project. It was a collaboration between Sean, aka Bally Ballistic, and Jerry. And I had purchased mine, and I had a spot, but he was making some orders, and so when I got there, I got to flip every single blade variant and figure out which one was going to be the one that I was going to get.
Ah.
Jerry, I'm sure, hopefully you guys have him sometime on the show. He'll talk about how I fucked up his couch.
Oh, my God. I definitely got it.
I'm writing that down right
Fuck
now.
your
actually.
couch.
I was flipping his Arashis over the couch, and I was just, and I tried to use the pillow to shield it, but
Man,
you know,
it'll bounce
I did
off
some
that
damage.
pillow, and the blade will go straight into the cushion.
But to be fair, I bought his knife, and hopefully he used those funds to get a new couch. Um, yeah,
Oh man,
so
what a guy!
it was a cool meetup.
Yeah, I've had a lot of fun with Jerry, man. We had an remember the arm wrestling matches at Blade Show.
Oh man, those
In fact,
arm wrestling matches were insane.
like I think the same thing happened with me and you that happened to me and Jerry. We just ended up like wearing ourselves out for
Yeah.
5 minutes.
Yeah,
Dude is so much stronger than
Like-
he looks.
Dude, Jerry is stronger than he looks. The only reason I was able to keep up with him is because
'Cause
I-
you get that leverage.
tall and have the leverage exactly.
Mhm.
And then like because I think me and Squid did first, and then
I think
you know-
I think that you were at a disadvantage. I don't know who went first, but I remember whoever you went up against, you had gone like twice in a row. and
Yeah.
so you were like worn out.
yeah, I think with Jerry I just gave up is what I did. I was like I can't do it anymore.
Yeah.
He slammed me immediately. Bam, bam.
Yeah. Luckily, I actually had a So, you guys actually are stronger than me, because I had a guy who used to be a professional arm wrestler teach me how to arm wrestle.
Well, you just
Wow.
push, right?
So, yeah, exactly. But no, there's like a technique that you can actually, and it 100% works.
We'll talk later.
Wow.
Yeah, you'll have to YouTube it. It's pretty awesome. It's impressive how well it works. But yeah, Jerry's a big, muscly.
Yeah,
hunk
dude's
of
a
a
beast.
man.
Doesn't look like it. He's just a humble guy overall, really.
Yeah, man, I love the dude.
I always
We,
I always
we've had-
force him to take selfies with me at Blade Show, and I make him make faces, and I try to make him as uncomfortable as I can. I'm pretty sure he doesn't like me, but it's my goal every year to get a lewd picture with Pat,
Mhm.
and then a stupid face selfie with Jerry.
You always got to get kissed by Pat.
Or something. We didn't kiss this year. We just got in bed together.
Oh,
Or
Oh,
last
yeah,
year.
that's right. Yeah, well, Slash hasn't been back, so you can't recreate the kissing
Oh,
photo.
man, but when he does.
I want Slash back so bad. It's so much fun. There was nothing scarier. I think it was the day before you showed up that year. It was the first year O'Leary showed up. But we were hammered after the pit in
Slash is good at that.
Blade shows. So
As
if,
is
if
O'Leary.
you haven't been to Blade Show, after the show, about an hour goes by, and then everybody shows up at the lobby to hang out and drink and network and all this stuff. So it's about 3, 4 in the morning. Actually, I think you were here at this time because you were the reason we had to walk across the street to get cigarettes, Stu.
That sounds about right. Yeah.
Yeah. So, and O'Leary threw Asflo into the bush.
I remember that. And then
What?
Yeah.
Slash tackled O'Leary, didn't he?
Yeah.
Or shoved him into the bush or something.
Yeah, Slash realized what a dick O'Leary was being, so he tackled him into the bush. And then O'Leary's like, fuck, was I being that big of a dick? They're like, yeah, dude, you've been kind of a drunk dick. He's like, oh, shit. And then he throws himself in the bush and loses his BRS hat.
Him
So,
and losing
man.
BRS products. There's something about that.
Yeah, man. Yeah, man, but still, the scariest thing that ever happened is
The gun?
Slash, well, let's not talk about that.
Oh, okay.
Oh man,
Sla-
that was a funny story.
Well, Slash ended up turning to us, and he was so drunk he forgot that he had to talk to us in English. So he basically goes, "Hey,
Wow.
and he starts skipping down the road in the opposite direction.
That would be terrifying.
Yeah, and we're like, "Oh fuck!" So I go running after him, and he's hanging out with these people that are like sitting outside somewhere, and he's not speaking English to them either, forgetting that I guess he's in America. I guess he's trying to bum a cigarette.
Jeez.
Atlanta. Hoorah.
Oh man, insanity!
Yeah.
I still have that mixtape. I still have that guy's mixtape.
You do? Jeez, I
Yeah.
want to listen to it.
Yeah, man. We'll have to crank it.
That's my favorite part about Blade Show is all these memories that we leave with, you know?
Oh,
Yeah.
dude, there's just so many.
So I think we're getting off
But,
on a tangent now about...
Yeah.
Yeah, we're actually getting kind of late on time, man. We're an hour into this, so
Oh, shit.
I think it's a good
Yeah.
time to call it here.
Well, one more thing. Well, 3 things, Lucas.
Sure. Yeah.
Wow.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
Number 1, most importantly, are you one of those weirdos that just plays Commander and EDH?
I do not play Commander, or I do not play EDH. I used to, but not anymore.
So what do you play now? You said you haven't played Standard in a while.
I play Modern.
Okay, that's
modern.
acceptable.
Yeah.
Okay, we'll move on then. I still like you. Number 2, what's your vision for the future with Squid Industries? What are you striving to achieve in the next 2-3 years?
So originally, the original vision is that I wanted to provide flippers with, a high quality product for a low price, and I feel like I've kind of accomplished that with the product line that we have now. I think
most
that
definitely.
I have a diverse range. We have products throughout, 0 to 200, and starting to creep into above that. And so, depending on your budget, there's an option for you. And so, I think I've accomplished that in some regards. Kind of going forward is that I still want to provide, obviously high quality flippers, but I just kind of want to step into the higher end territory, kind of where BRS and Jerry are, and just because I feel like there's still room. There's still room there. The community is getting really large, and I think a lot of people are anticipating higher quality products from us, and so I just want to have like this nice, diverse range across all products. Across all price ranges, so that people have kind of more options in the community, so that we can have more flippers. Yeah, I think that's pretty much it.
Okay. Yeah, and I mean, you've definitely opened the door to many people that would not have had the opportunity to even begin flipping to begin with. So I think the way that the community has been growing can be attributed a lot to yourself and Squid Industries.
Yeah, I hope so. I just want the community to grow, and hopefully our products help people kind of enjoy it more and gives them more access to it.
Definitely. And lastly, where do you want to be found on social media?
You beat me to it, you bastard.
You fuck ask it every episode. That's my question.
I mean, Instagram is our main channel, really. So at Squid Industries Co. We wanted to do Squid Industries, a small side story, but that's taken by Vape Company. So it's at Squid Industries Co. My personal one is at Squidmaster23. Same thing goes for Reddit. And you guys can contact me through any of those channels.
Sounds good.
All right, I'm going to be asking for my sponsorship.
Oh, yeah, I'll DM you about that later. I think I got 50 subscribers on YouTube. Well, any last words that you want to get out there before we end this, man?
Yeah, sure. I mean, honestly, I just want to say a really big thank you, especially to the people who supported us from the start. We've had lots of critics and throughout, and a lot of skepticism, especially with our products as they come out. But overall, the community has been really wonderful. It's super inviting, and I want to thank you guys as well for having me. When I was getting into the hobby, you guys were definitely people that I looked up to in terms of flipping, because I watched your guys' videos and I saw you at these events, and I'm like, damn, like I wish I could get that good, And so, I want to thank you guys for having me on it. I think it's a huge honor
for coming
me.
on, man. Well, we appreciate you.
Yeah, man. Thanks for taking time.
Yeah, it's been a lot of fun, so I really appreciate it, guys.
All
right, man. Well, thanks for being on. This is podcast number 4. Take it easy, guys.
Peace
out.
All right, peace. It's getting huge. Getting huge. Getting huge. Getting huge.